Thanks for joining me on Jamaicans.com for another episode of Shelf Life. Remember, like the page, pass this on to your friends, and drop us a line in the comment section below. Welcome to Shelf Life. Today, I'm talking with the other half of the husband and wife team that makes up Bluesic Multimedia. The wife of well-known music and video producer Davine Butler. She's more than his wife, she's his partner, but she has her own talents. She's a wife, a mother, and an author. The author of the book, Love Like It Never Happened. A chronicle of challenges and experiences, both hers and some friends, and just how those challenges and experiences are used to help others heal from brokenness. Join me in this conversation. My friend Davine, good to have you on Shelf Life. I've been waiting to talk to you. That little book, Love Like It Never Happened, it's a serious topic.
Yes,
and, I found reading that book so much of myself in it. And so much of the things I learned over my lifetime as well in it. And so I really appreciate the work that you've done on that book and the honesty, because there's a lot of honesty.
Yeah, it's real. And first of all, thank you so much for having me. I am so very honored to be talking to, of course.
Really?
Yes, really. As you say, our friendship go back, and you are such an inspiration to us in many different ways. So you and your husband, of course, Barry. So we are so appreciative of that, and thank you so much for having me today. Yes, this book has brought me through a whole journey. I had to even go back to some places that I didn't even realize that I had to visit.
Wow!
But I'm thankful for it. And the response so far is good and it's real. I didn't want to put something out there that people could not relate to, and I cover up or kind of play down.
That happens a lot. A lot of times we write and we pretend it's somebody else's life, or I have a friend who. But you are very honest and very straightforward in that book. But before we get to the book, let us meet you. Tell us about you growing up, and I know some of that is also in the book.
Yes, of course. I grew up in a little community called Mount Ursa in Cavaliers, in the hills of St. Andrew, right here in Jamaica. You're hearing me, right?
Yes.
Good? Oh, yes, good. Okay. And I grew up with my grandmother, because my mom, at the time, she had to go to Kingston to work. So, back in the days, those time, I'm not going to say when, but
you're not as old as me, so it's all right. You can say when.
Mommy and grandma and everything, and we just later to rest Saturday.
Oh wow!
So
my condolences.
So it's a really not such a great time right now for me, but God is good. I'm still giving thanks that He gave us 87 years with her.
Wow.
So I grew up with her, and she loved the arts. Everything in church, we had to take part in it. She loved writing and drama. Oh God, we started to practice over and over and over. But I just believe that she imparted something within me. And even what I do today in production and video and all of that, it came from there. I also had a cousin. Her name is Novelet, and she loved writing. She's the first person who actually introduced me to, let's just say, a local author. And she would write these wonderful novels. And after school, I would be so excited just to go around our house, because we live practically next door. And she would read these stories that she wrote to me. And I was so intrigued by it. And it's as if, again, that also sparked an interest, because the story, I'm a storyteller. I love stories. That's the way that I write. I love to tell stories. So when she would tell me all of these things, it just sparked something inside of me. And that was also a way of escape for me. When I started high school, I joined the drama club because of my grandma loving
Right.
script writing and all of that. But my childhood growing up, there were some kinks, some challenges. And at the time, as a child, even when my mom left, it never came across as she went to try and get a better life. It was a level of, as a child, it felt more of an
An
abandonment.
abandonment. Yeah, where did she go?
She was in Kingston. I was
Okay.
in
Oh,
Royal
you
St.
went to
Andrew.
say that, right.
Yes. So she went to Kingston and she lived there. So she would come home every other weekend, sometimes 3 weekends. It all depends on how much she had to work. I didn't see her. And then my father, when I talk about my cousin, it's like three houses. So my father also lived next door
Okay.
where my cousin lived. So, but even though I had a very good relationship with my siblings, I didn't have any relationship with him. And there was just this love I had for him. I don't know until to the day, he passed away over 20 years now in 1999. He passed from cancer. And that broke my heart, but I loved him, but for some reason, we didn't have
You
that
didn't have a
relationship that I
relationship.
so
Yes.
longed for. So there was these issues of feeling of abandonment and rejection.
Mm-hmm.
And then as a child, there's no way to process all of that. And even though, yes, we go to church, and
Right.
that's another place that I loved because I could, express myself through drama and all of that kind
Right.
of stuff. But you weren't taught how. You heard
Yes.
about forgiveness, you heard about God, you heard about love. But it seemed as though, for me, it's like I don't know why I
It
felt it
wasn't
was
real.
undeserving.
It wasn't
It
real
wasn't,
though. It
yeah?
wasn't real. It wasn't real though. We were taught about love and forgiveness in kind of like this
Mm-hmm.
vacuum. There were
Yeah.
nobody in church or in life actually gave you real
Yeah.
scenarios to say
No,
this
yes,
is
no
what Tom did to Jim.
principle.
Yeah,
Exactly.
this is what Tom did. They just tell you in
Mm-hmm.
this vacuum that you're supposed to
Yes,
forgive, but
God
God
said
wants
you
you to
must
forgive.
forgive, and that's it.
Yeah,
So,
and that's it.
there was this feeling of, unworthiness, and my mom not there, my dad not there, and then my grandmother was very strict, and there was no, even though in a way that you're loved, it's like sometimes you want to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be hugged. You want
Yeah.
to feel that connection.
You know something though is that they grew up in a time where the demonstrative kind of behavior was not really on. It was not the thing you did. Yes, you know me
Yes,
love you because me feed you. Where you go? You want me to tell you
exactly.
that me love you.
And
Me not
and
feed you and me clothe you and me put food over roof over your head. Clearly, I love you.
exactly. So that was it. But as I said before, not until you get to a place of maturity,
Mm-hmm.
you get to understand that. But when in your early years, which form your whole concept and
Yeah,
perception of
who
life,
you are.
and
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to figure out who you are, all of these things at that time gave you a whole different picture. So there were some baggages
Mm-hmm.
that I had to deal with in that time. Um, Little situations with other family members coming around and the way they treated you.
Right.
There was a sense of not feeling like I belong, because the weirdest thing about this story is that the two families did not get along. So my mother family that I lived with my grandmother, did not get along with my father's family, who actually lived next door. So here's a child in the middle of
Mm-hmm.
all of this, not feeling like I belong. So when I'm here, there's this tension about the other family that they don't like. And
Right.
when I'm over there, there's this tension about the other family that I live with that they don't like. So I never felt accepted. So that created some really
real challenges, man. And you
yes,
know, it's interesting how we don't readily understand as adults how these things affect us later on. Sometimes we
yeah,
don't readily get that these are the things that form us. It makes us who we are. These are the
mhm.
things that give us the reasons why we do some of the things that we do,
Yes,
because
it's
it,
true.
it comes from that far back. But in your book, you talk about some friends and you know the challenges they had and how their challenges helped to form you too. You know, people like
Yes.
Joan and Cheryl and Lisa,
Hmm.
some of the
Yeah.
challenges they had. And I know you had to deal with even somebody who committed suicide.
Yeah, and that's my cousin, as I was talking about Novelet. Oh, even though, as I just mentioned, it still
Yes.
have a little impact, you know. I mean, as the years had passed, you know, so far, there are certain things that I work my way through it. I can't tell you that I'm over it, even 20 years. I'm
I
not.
don't think you get over it. You don't get over it. My
No.
dad's been gone 19 years, 20, I don't even
Mhm.
know, 18 years now. And still haven't gotten over it. You learn to live with it.
Yeah, you learn with it.
Yeah.
I always tell people, you get through it. You know, the Lord
Yeah.
said to us, when you go through the water, I never say when you go over the water, when you go over
And him
the
never say when you
path.
stop in it either. It's like,
Yeah, he
though I
said,
walk
when you
through
go
the
through,
valley, and when I walk through the
I
valley of the shadow of death,
am
you're not
there.
stopping it. You just
So,
walk through. You pass through.
yes, so I think that was a major thing when my cousin died, because again, she was that one connection that I felt like understood me, and I saw her as a big sister.
Right.
She was, you know, I remember after leaving school and she would help me with going back to doing some more subjects and all of that kind of stuff. So she was a strength, like a
Yes.
tower in my life. So when that was removed, it was like again a whole chaos, you know? And then it built up because I felt like the persons that were around her did not give her the care again, because I know there were some issues with her
Right.
and based on her relationship and what she had to deal with in the home. And I just did have them up, straight
Yeah.
up Jamaican talk.
Yeah, man.
I
You
just,
have to
I
talk the
just did
things
have them
straight
up because I
sometimes.
just say, if I never if I never do this, she would still be here. And then I kind of felt a little way towards her. I was angry with her too, because I said, was it that bad that you couldn't?
Couldn't
So
hold on.
I'm a little bit selfish too, because I'm saying you couldn't tell me. I mean, you know, me, and I wasn't even thinking much as to, man, what is it that she was
What she went through.
going through
Yeah.
herself?
Yeah.
But I was kind of full, and that's what sometimes when you become toxic,
Hmm.
you are not clear in your thinking. You can become self-absorbed and
Yes.
self-righteous. So
Yes.
it's just all about you and
But
not about,
but the anger part is a part of that grieving too, you know. And
yeah, yeah, it is.
which brings me to the
Mhm.
title of the book, Love Like It Never Happened.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
and basically your book is about getting past, getting through,
Mm-hmm.
overcoming, and learning to love again, learning to
Yes.
live again, even
Mm-hmm.
though something really tragic may have
Yes.
happened to you. And
Mm-hmm.
how do you do that? How do you get to that place where you are loving and living again despite what had happened?
One of the things that when I actually got to that place is it's just based on my relationship with the Lord. I could not see clearly before that. Before God brought me to a place to say, hey, first things first, remember you were yourself an offender.
Mm,
All of us at one point in our lives offend somebody.
yes.
You know, the other day I was thinking about something. I'm saying, I remember seeing, sometimes I see people put up this thing about, you know, the Lord is um, feasting me, setting a table before me in the presence of my enemy. And I'm saying to myself, but funny, you might be somebody's enemy
Yes.
too. So
Yes.
somebody might be saying that same scripture
About
about
you.
you,
About
right?
you.
about you. So we have to be careful. So that was the first thing I had to deal with me.
Yes.
That's the first things first I have to understand. The scripture said that while we were yet in sin, Messiah, Mashiach, Yeshua died for us. And that in itself was like a atomic bomb just
went up,
clear the air.
That you were yourself an offender. And you know, in my book Time and Seasons, one way it's 10 guides to overcoming tragedy, and it's just layman guides. And one of them is talking about forgiveness. And even when I speak, and I speak to young people and I speak at events, that is one of the things I talk about is forgiveness. Because I have to remind them that, hold on, you don't want to forgive somebody, but you want somebody to forgive you.
Exactly.
And you may think you haven't done anything, but somebody may have not told you about what you did.
Exactly.
Or they told you about what you did, and you just figure, you know what, them wrong and me right, and that is that. Me, I'm in the clear.
And don't even understand that they have to deal with the same level of hurt and pain that you have to deal with somebody else.
Yes.
So when the Lord showed me that, it's a boy, Davine, it's not about beating you over your head to show you to bring up your past life, but I'm just showing you this principle that is going to take you over and take you through this. And the next important thing, which I love this one, is unforgiveness is self-sabotage.
Yes, it is.
You completely, totally shut down, lock off yourself. No matter how you see certain, you're successful in certain aspect of your life. You can be much more, and you can be greater if it is that you will learn and you really understand that you are sabotaging yourself. Because the scripture said, listen, if you don't forgive, Abba won't forgive you.
Yes.
So that in itself is saying to you that whatever it is that the Father have to give you, you're blocking it to say, listen, I don't want it because I want to hold on to unforgiveness.
I want to hold on to my pain and my hurt and everything. And you know, the other thing that I tell people, and I heard Madea say it, right? Madea actually says this in one of Tyler Perry's movies. And it's something I learned very, very early in my life, is that when you don't forgive somebody, they have power over you.
Yes.
You have given up your power. You have given up your ability to say, listen, I am going to be forgiving. I'm going to whatever. You give them power. So the longer
that would go now. That to the next point is that unforgiveness is a prison.
Yes.
So it is holding you to places. You have some persons who are 60, 70 years old, and they're still 10 years old because they are locked up in what had happened in the past.
Funny you should say that. When we premiered 70 times 7, or movie 70 times 7 in Ocho Rios at Church on the Rock, which is where we filmed the film. And one lady came up to me. This is one of the mothers of the church. She now probably our late 70s. And she came up to me and she said, I never knew that I could have learned something from this movie at this stage of my life. I learned that there are people I have not forgiven. This is a woman, almost 80 now. She said, I've learned that there are people I have not forgiven. And this came up in front of me in this movie, that I need to forgive these people for me before I die. So yes, it is a prison.
When we look at forgiving somebody, we think it's about the person. We keep forgetting it is not about them. Again, go back to self-sabotage. You're sabotaging your own freedom
and blessings.
Your own blessing, everything, just your ability to move forward. You are putting chains and shackles on your own self, because while there's a saying that you cannot control what a person do or say to you, but you can control how you react.
Yes.
You should not give away your power, no matter how it is. And I'm not saying that this is an easy. Listen to me.
It's not easy. It's not easy at all. It's not easy, but
I tell you,
if you give that up, you give up your own power. But you know something, Davine, we could talk all morning, you know, but I want you to read something out of that book.
okay, so I want to share quickly because I know a lot of things are happening to persons, and I want to share from chapter 9, and that chapter is entitled "It Will Get Better." Right? It's not going to stay one way all the time. So in the 1800s, you have Bridget Biddy Mason was born in slavery. At a very early age, she was pawned off as a wedding gift by her then owner to a fairly wealthy family. And like every other, she had to work in the field, picking cottons, looking after the cattle, being the midwife and the nanny to her owner's children. She was never taught how to read because it was illegal at the time. It was only a matter of time. Her owner, they moved to California along with the slaves that they owned. What they did not realize was that in California, slaves were given their freedom. Biddy petitioned the court in Los Angeles for her freedom, and the judge granted her freedom. Bridget went on to further herself, educate herself. Being a midwife already, she was employed by a well-known physician named John Strutter Griffin. And being thrifty with her money, she saved enough to start buying lands in Los Angeles. She became one of the first Blacks to own land in LA. She studied and became fluent in Spanish and was a founding member of the first African Methodist Episcopal Church. She came into great fortune, and she shared this by building schools, homes for the poor, and visiting those in prison. Her life was started as a slave, but her season changed and she stepped into her powerful destiny, being free and victorious. There are many other noble achievements by this great woman. Her work has been forever engraved in history because she was willing to change. There are many others out there that will share their story about when they felt stuck, as if there would never be an end to the series of unfortunate events. But their circumstances did not hold them bound forever. No matter what you are facing today, declare over your life that it will get better because God is for you. And when He's for you, nothing will be able to destroy you.
Wow. Yes. Totally, totally, totally agree.
So
Yeah.
seasons will change.
Yeah.
There's gonna come a time when it gets better. It's not gonna be one way all the time.
I had that conversation just this morning with a colleague of mine. We lost a colleague on Thursday last week. And it was devastating for the company. You know, one of our vice presidents who was just, you know, in everything.
Yes.
And this morning I was speaking with a colleague of mine who was still grieving, very, very seriously grieving. And we was just talking about and was saying, you know, listen, the thing is that you'll never get over it, but you'll get through it.
Yes.
And if we started talking about COVID, and I said, boy, the Spanish flu lasted 2 years. 2 years, but look at it. Here we are looking back on 1918 and saying the Spanish flu was.
Yes.
And in about 10, 12, 15, 20 years, this will be history. Pandemic will be history.
Yes.
And they'll be writing books and talking about me and you through it. You know, right?
Yes.
It's rough.
It is.
It's rough.
It is.
But
if we understand and learn about the seasons and understand that in every thing that is happening, every crisis, there's an opportunity for us to grow and to learn something, not just to look at it in the chaos that it is. We have to find a space where we quiet ourselves and look into how is it that, because sometimes we cannot control people. I always say to people, I can't give you the answer always to the why, but I can tell you how.
Right.
So the questions that we should be asking is, how do I get through this now at this time? And there are principles there if we just look in the right place. Yes. And we just need to apply these principles to our lives, and we will get through it. We can get through anything.
Because you know what? if you think about it, chaos almost comes before almost anything good, you know. There's always some chaos that's going on. There's a little saying, if it isn't broken, don't break it. Don't fix it.
Don't fix it.
But my thing is, if it isn't broken, break it. Because sometimes the way it is fine. But if you break it, sometimes you get something better.
Yes.
You get so comfortable with what is fine and what is working that you don't even want to hear that there's another way to make this work and another way to get through this. But this takes me again back to love like it never happened. Moving on beyond whatever happened. And as a creative in this space, I talk with other creatives like myself and you. And the one thing we have learned is that once we got past the shock of where we are, we're creating again. And we're creating better and bigger.
Every time.
And we're creating a global community instead of just our small community. Because out of the chaos. And God can bring amazing things out of chaos.
Beautiful.
Out of the chaos of the earth and the gases and all of that. Look at what has brought forth. You know, so there is...
Yes, in the book of Ecclesiastes, it tells us that in the end, he will make all things beautiful. It's just for us to understand the process and know that sometimes it's just one foot in front of the other. It's like the saying, you know, if you can't fly, walk, you know, or if you can't fly, run, if you can't run, walk, if you can't walk, crawl. But whatever you do, just don't stop moving.
Do something.
Because the Lord will forever hold you and carry you no matter what state you're in. You have to be willing to want to move forward.
You have to be willing.
The only way we don't achieve what we need to achieve and come into greater places and beautiful spaces is only if we allow ourselves to stay in that stagnant position. Because we know how it going, this is stagnant water, how it green and it full of things and it smell and it, you understand? So we can't blame people, you know, we have to blame ourselves. Yes, but people do things. Some really dreadful, wicked things, some things unspeakable. But being devastated doesn't mean that you're ruined. Nobody can ruin you. Nobody can ruin you. Right? Only the Lord himself has the power to not just destroy body, he can destroy soul. Only him can destroy everything. So you might be devastated, but you're not ruined at all.
Thank you. That is a perfect way to end this conversation. Thank you so much, Davine, for sharing time and space with me. The book is Love Like It Never Happened. I totally enjoyed it. And it is one of those books that I will pass on to others.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for your support and thank you for having me.
Welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate
I'll catch you again when I land on the rock.
Oh, yes. Okay. I'm looking forward to seeing you.
Post-COVID.
Yes, definitely.
Take care.
All right.
Walk good.
Walk good. Bless you.
Blessings. Well, that's another Shelf Life. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And I hope you learned something about forgiving people and forgiving yourself, most importantly. I'll see you again next week, same time, same place, to see what else is on my shelf. In the meantime, walk good. Remember, like the page, and you can check out my website, jfalloon-reid.com, for the episodes that you missed and to learn more about me. Catch you next time.